Greetings, friends. Thanks for being here. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. And welcome to the Mind Body Eating Coach Certification Training live event series. Today's topic, by the way, is the health coaching universe, key distinctions when it comes to choosing the best training for you. So let me say this. I really appreciate you being here. We have people tuning in pretty much from all over the world, certainly the United States, but also we have people tuning in from Singapore, South Africa, Venezuela, Estonia, Denmark, Israel, Angola, Canada, Ireland, Greece, Britain, India, Peru, Mexico, and a bunch more. So we're live streaming directly into our group here on Facebook and also on YouTube. And just know that wherever you're streaming in from, you can drop your comments in the comments section or the chat box. I will do my best to respond. So, and if you can't make it to the entire live event today, you'll find the replay. So you can find the replay right here on Facebook or in YouTube, whichever platform you're in. We also have listening in here people from a bunch of different professions. We have a lot of people who are first-time potential health coaches, as well as people who are already existing practitioners. I'm talking about nutritionists, dietitians, medical doctors, nurses, fitness professionals, life coaches, and a bunch more. So here's the thing. Wherever you're at in your professional journey, my intention for this live event series is to give you a taste of what our training is all about and hopefully inspire you around what's possible as a health coach trained in our unique modalities, eating psychology, and mind-body nutrition. What I wanted to do was kick things off today by doing my best to give you a big picture look at the health coaching space. It's my intention for you to come away with a deeper understanding, really, of the coaching landscape and where you might best fit in when it comes to your own personal and professional journey. So these days, you know this, if you've done a little bit of research, there's a number of choices that you can make when it comes to a health coach training. And for a lot of people, the task of making the right choice for yourself, it could be a little bit daunting. Because so many trainings, so many programs, they're going to say, we've got the best price, or I don't know, the best education, fastest way to get certified, or fastest way to make lots of money. Not always so easy to know who to trust or what to do. So I would like to make the journey to becoming a health coach a lot easier for you. Let me acknowledge my biases right up front. I'm a coach. I have a company that trains coaches. I love the coaching model. And before I dive into the health coaching universe, for those of you that don't know me, I'm the author of 2 well-loved and best-selling books in the field of eating psychology and nutrition, Nourishing Wisdom, which was published, it's 30 years ago, still in print by Random House, and The Slow Down Diet. And these have been translated in over 9 or 10 different languages. I've been a consultant in the health, wellness, education, and product development space for many years for Fortune 500 companies. I've worked with Johnson & Johnson, the Disney company, and yes, in my early days in the food industry, I worked for Coke and Pepsi and Kraft Foods and a bunch more. I've been in private practice as a coach, as a clinician, really for over 35 years. And I've been fortunate enough to have thousands of client hours. And that's really provided me with my own powerful education and body of experience and body of knowledge. And, so much of what you learn, at least in our training, is what I wish I had, the kind of training I wish I had when I first started out. So my work is featured in all kinds of media outlets over the years, CNN, NBC, the New York Times, Chicago Sun-Times, WebMD, Yoga Journal, lots of others. I've lectured literally thousands of times over the years, including Harvard University. If you're going to brag, I think that's the one you want to brag about. I founded the Institute in 2007, and the mission of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating is to help people heal and transform their lives when it comes to their food and body challenges. So I've trained thousands of coaches over the years in our very unique and effective approach. By the way, over the years, our online events and programs for the public have been attended by really hundreds of thousands of people. And we reach millions of people every day through our various platforms, including social media, including Facebook, YouTube, etc. I've been pretty fortunate to have a very varied career. So I feel qualified to talk about the health coaching space. And what's great about health coaching is it gives you the opportunity to create an incredible career for yourself doing something you love, something that fascinates you, something that you have a personal interest in, something where you can work for yourself, create your own hours, and truly help other human beings. Unlike a lot of other professions, when it comes to health coaching, your entire life and your own personal journey actually qualifies you to be in that role, to be in the role of a coach. Now, I want to say right up front that the way I view it, you already, if you're not a practicing professional, you already have an invisible clientele. That's how I see it. That's how I imagine it. You have an invisible clientele. You don't know them yet. They don't know you yet. But just as you, once you become a coach, you'll be looking for them, they're going to equally be looking for you. In other words, there's people out there who want to work with you. They want to work with you specifically and not me or not somebody else because of all the different reasons that they're going to relate to you. They feel comfortable with you. They're drawn to you in terms of how you look, how old you are, where you're from, however people decide that. So I'm confident that there's a lot of people out there. The weight loss industry by itself is a $500 billion a year industry worldwide. That's probably a low guesstimate. So there's a lot of people who need our help. Let's dive into the health coaching space. I really want to give you an understanding of what it's about and where you might fit into it. For those of you that don't necessarily know the coaching professions, you would have started hearing the term health coach or life coach really accelerate in the early 1990s. And what history hasn't really captured is that this was really an incredible innovation in the helping professions. Why? Because previously, if you wanted help with your health, you had to go to a standard typical medical professional. I'm talking about doctors, medical specialists, perhaps a dietitian or a nurse practitioner. And they're all trained to help others through a very specific kind of model, through an insurance billing system, through a disease model, through a pathology model, meaning in the medical universe, and this is just how it's done, no blame, they're trained to see you through the eyes of what's wrong with you and how do we fix you. This is very different from a coaching model. It's very different from being a mentor or a guide or a cheerleader for your client or best friend for your client, an educator for your client, i.e. a coach. So the coaching model is essentially about seeing where you can help another human being grow and transform. So at its best, the coaching model sees human beings as essentially whole. It sees each one of us as being on a journey, and it's about helping another human being maximize their potential, once again, via education, via insight, hopefully via information, via wisdom, practical steps and techniques. So it's a mentorship model. Health coaching is all about helping others to transform and maximizing their health. Now, I want to mention that life coaching, on the other hand, is a wonderful addition to the pantheon of human potential. So whereas traditional therapy, and I'm talking about psychotherapy or mental health counseling, those models tend to focus, like the medical model, on fixing people. So in the traditional therapy or psychotherapy model, the therapist wants to find out what's wrong with you, what's your issue, what's your problem, what's your pathology, how did you develop it, where did it come from, and they're essentially treating a defective person. How do we fix you? Life coaching is all about seeing people, similar to health coaching, on a continuum of growth. So life coaching assumes a core place of internal wellness and wholeness. So we're all essentially whole, and yeah, we have our issues, we have our challenges. So life coaching is all about helping people look forward into the future, not necessarily back into the past, and looks to help people achieve their dreams and their hopes, looks to help people achieve their goals. I hope you're starting to see the difference between a disease model, a pathology model, and a coaching model. It's my observation that the coaching model has forever changed and elevated the way human beings help one another. It really exploded into the mainstream because in the coaching universe, we are not limited by what the traditional models have to adhere to. As a coach, you can use any tool essentially that can work for a client. Okay, let's get, and by the way, coaching levels the playing field, meaning anyone can become a coach, just about any age group, but I'm going to suggest 18 or over. So just about any age group, you can become a coach, any nationality, any orientation, just whoever you are, whatever your life experience is, your life experience helps qualify you on that road. So I want to get one misconception out of the way from the beginning, specifically around health coaching. If you want to be a health coach, you do not need to have perfect health. You don't need to have the perfect body. You don't need to have the perfect weight. You don't need to eat the perfect diet. You don't need to ever overeat or binge eat or emotionally eat. Join the human race. We are all a work in progress. In order for you and I to help another human being as a coach, you just got to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of them. I mean, think about it. In order to help anybody in any way in life, you just need to be a couple of steps ahead of them. And, additionally, what I love about the coaching model is that, for so many of us, we're teaching what we need to learn. That's okay. I love teaching about eating psychology, about health, about personal transformation, because that's what I'm learning all the time anyway. That's what I'm doing for myself. So when I'm not working on health and healing and eating psychology professionally and personal transformation professionally, I'm just engaged in it in my own life because that's what fascinates me. So it's okay to be a learner while you're helping another human being. So you just need to be willing. You need to be a willing mentor, a willing guide, a willing advisor. You need to be an advocate for healing and transformation. The other mistake or hesitation that stops a lot of people from entering the health coaching space is you get online and you go on social media and you look at what other people are doing, and what's happened in the health coach universe is it's become a little glamorous. It's become a universe for people who are sort of like famous and fit or famous and hot. And please don't compare yourself. You don't have to be that person. That is the tiniest slice of the health coaching universe. You don't have to be some famous online persona who has the perfect everything and who has six-pack abs in order for you to be a health coach. There's a percentage of people who want that kind of health coach. Great. Let them go to that kind of health coach. And if you want to be that kind of health coach, good for you. But be the kind of health coach that reflects who you are. Because if it's reflected, if you be the kind of coach that reflects who you personally are, you're going to draw the clientele to you that wants to work with you. Because there's some people that want to work with you if you're a 60-year-old woman. There's some people that want to work with you if you're a 30-year-old incredibly fit male. There's people who want to work with you if you're 23 years old and you've been through and continue to go through your own eating challenges, but you've really helped yourself and now you want to reach out to people younger than you. Okay. What a lot of people don't realize is that there's essentially 3 types of health coaches. So what I would like to do is briefly detail out what those three types are. And as you understand them, you can truly identify, I think, the kind of health coach that you'd like to become and a training that best fits you. By the way, for all the people saying hi in the comments section, thank you. Please feel free to jump in. Let me know where you're from, and I would so appreciate that. Okay, so the three types of health coaches. Type number one, I'm going to call the educational generalist. So that's type number one, the educational generalist. Here's what the educational generalist health coach does. They educate and inform about lifestyle and nutrition choices. They generally work with a population that needs information, that needs new facts, and that isn't necessarily going to learn all these things on their own. They just want to go to you so you can curate the information that they need to know to help them be a healthier human being. An educational generalist is not, let's define it by what it's not for a moment, it's not clinical work. Clinical work would mean helping people with health concerns in a very intensive way. Health concerns like, as an example, digestive issues, hormonal problems, immune challenges, autoimmune condition, chronic pain, arthritis, diabetes. So clinical work means you're functioning as a clinician would. You're determining the root cause of a person's medical or metabolic issue. You're diagnosing. And you're treating with supplements and or diet and or drugs if you're qualified to do that. So the educational generalist is not that. They're not they're not deeply focused on the mind, on psychology. They don't learn about the common eating challenges most people face, such as binge eating, emotional eating, overeating, body image challenge, long-term weight issues, and constant food worry. The educational generalist is working with people who need information and education. So eat this, don't eat that. They need someone, the clients of an educational generalist need someone who can help them with meal planning ideas, tell them how to food shop, encourage them around lifestyle practices like stress reduction or sleep or rest or exercise, or in a rudimentary way working with certain unwanted habits. So the educational generalist health coach is working with the kind of population that, could use a little hand-holding when it comes to discerning the right information, because there's a lot of information out there, and the clients of an educational generalist, they don't want to have to wade through all the confusion. So they're turning to that health coach for help. And yeah, it's helpful to have a coach that keeps you accountable. Now, the upside, the good part of being an educational generalist is that you're not in the business of assessing and diagnosing. That takes skill, that takes training, and in most states and countries, that takes a certain kind of licensing. Additionally, the upside of being an educational generalist is that you're generally using more of a one-size-fits-all approach to help your clients. Your training has taught you general health principles, general nutrition principles that tend to be useful for a majority of people. So that's a good thing. It's much more simplified. But the upside can also be the downside. Because the educational generalist is taught a one-size-fits-all approach, you don't really learn how to work with a client's true uniqueness. This kind of health coach is not truly equipped, once again, to work with challenges that require a deeper understanding and a different set of tools when it comes to working with significant amount of people who they want help with overeating or binge eating or emotional eating. They're not liking their body. They're not liking their weight. This is the place where the educational generalist, generally, I'm going to tell you, becomes very frustrated. They sincerely want to help their clients with these challenges, but they have not been taught how to do so. Again, working with these kind of challenges, emotional eating, binge eating, endless dieting, constant food worry, constant weight worry, weight loss resistance, I don't love my body, that takes a whole different skill sets. Some of the programs, some of the trainings that I just want to highlight that I would best categorize as an educational generalist training. Our Institute for Integrative Nutrition and the Health Coach Institute. Those are the two biggest. Those are the two most common. And by the way, the people that created those trainings were students of mine as far back as the late 1980s. To me, these trainings, once again, are best for people who want an entry-level education into health coaching, and for people who are well suited to being in a general discussion and not have to be a clinical sleuth or not have to go too deeply into a person's food story and their life story and their body story. Let's talk about the second type of health coach. And I'm going to call this the clinical health and nutrition coach. So the clinical health and nutrition coach works with health challenges in a prescriptive way, in a clinical way. So such coaches are usually personally interested in being a health detective. They like diagnosing, they like assessing, they like determining a client's health status using various kinds of medical testing, using extensive history taking, and really working with a lot of trial and error. Let's try these diets, these supplements, these strategies, look at these tests, let's see what happens. They're like a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant or a doctor. They're diagnosing and prescribing. This requires a working understanding of the human body. It requires an understanding of functional nutrition, applied nutrition. It requires a more extensive knowledge of supplements, of herbs, vitamins, and a strong ability to research the interactions with whatever drugs the client or patient might be taking, or whatever drugs the coach might be prescribing if they have another license and they're allowed to prescribe drugs. So clinical health and nutrition coaches work with all kinds of health challenges, and many of them, but not all, will tend to specialize in one or two medical conditions. I know, clinical nutrition coaches, clinical health coaches who they focus on diabetes, or they're focused on people who have autoimmune conditions or Hashimoto's disease or digestive disease. So always up to the person and their interests. Clinical health and nutrition coaches do not work with the common eating challenges that you've heard me mention: emotional eating, binge eating, overeating, body image challenge, endless dieting, constant food worry. Clinical health and nutrition coaches will often work with weight loss, but I will say from experience, their tools are very limited, and generally they're limited to nutritional and metabolic ones, which will limit their effectiveness. In my observation, people who choose this path love to get to the bottom of what's causing a person's unwanted symptoms. They enjoy prescribing specific diets. They enjoy prescribing supplements. And like a doctor, they're drawn to clinical work. I will mention to you that the programs that educate clinical health and nutrition coaches include, but not limited to, Chris Kresser's training. There's the Institute for Functional Medicine. They have a training. There's the Functional Nutrition Lab with Andrea Nakayama, a good friend of mine. And there's the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Program with Reed Davis. So those are some of my favorites out there. To me, these programs are best. They're best for people who are already degreed or professionally credentialed to prescribe. So to me, they're useful for doctors and nurses, physician's assistants, nurse practitioners, dietitians, clinical psychologists, and people who are already working under a physician. They're also great for people who just want a solid education. They want an education in functional medicine and functional nutrition principles, just for their own personal use and for use with family. I want you to note here, this is important because there's a constant changing landscape in the United States and in the world in terms of who can prescribe when it comes to diets and food and nutrition supplements. Every state in the United States, I'll say, has its own terms and its own rules. And, every state will make it clear about what its licensing requirements are. So I just want you to understand before you take a clinical nutrition program to really understand by law what you're allowed to do in your state. Even if you're seeing people online, you're still going to be regulated by the state or the country that you're in. So you just have to be careful to stay in your professional lane and do the research that you need to do to determine how you can practice in your state or your country. I also want to note for the clinical health and nutrition coach that, I meet a lot of people who have an interest in learning nutrition. I'm a nutrition fanatic. And what happens is people will often mistake an interest in learning nutrition for, I should therefore become a nutrition professional and help other people in a clinical way. Can you see the difference? Nutrition is a fascinating topic. I recommend it for every human being. Learn about it. It's life-changing. But being a clinical nutritionist, a clinical nutrition coach, a clinical health and nutrition coach, that's a whole other creature. Nutrition knowledge can be a joy. It's fascinating. But once again, the limitations of this kind of professional is they can't work with the common eating challenges that, quite frankly, what I've seen, a majority of people are coming to health coaches to work with weight, to work with body image, to work with emotional eating and binge eating and constant food worry and lifelong dieting. That's what a majority of people want help with. So type number 3. I'm going to call the Mind Body Eating Coach. Full disclosure, this is the type of coach that I train at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating in our 8-month online training. This is our specialty niche. I consider us by far and away the leaders in this realm. So, trying to take away my bias, the Mind Body Eating Coach combines some of the best tools from the educational generalist, some great tools from clinical nutrition health coach, and the Mind Body Eating Coach also borrows from life coaching and from the field of eating psychology. So it's a well-rounded coach who understands nutritional distinctions and in particular understands the most important nutrition distinctions that are going to help you work with the majority of people who are coming to see you. People think that you need to have this huge toolkit to work with every possible condition that a client might come to see you with. No, this is why in the medical profession there are specialties. So yes, you can go to a general practitioner, but if you have a specialized disease, you go to a specialist. Same for people who are seeking out a health coach. If they have a specialized health issue that you're not trained to deal with, you refer them out. So in this coaching paradigm, in the mind-body eating coaching paradigm, I want you to note the term mind-body. It's really about including all we are as human beings, not only mind and body, but heart and soul. It's about, it's about helping people with habit change, but it's going deeper into personal transformation. How do we help a human being remove the blocks that are in their way? How do you help another being fulfill their highest human potential? So it's all about blending nutrition with psychology. It's about working with each client and seeing them as a unique human being on their own unique journey with their own unique metabolism. Just as an example, somebody comes to see you for weight loss. If you're trained as a classic dietitian, you are trained in the calories in, calories out model. If you're trained as a fitness professional, you're trained with that same model, calories in, calories out. If you're a physician, chances are the medical school you went to trained you in calories in and calories out. And that's what most people are going to learn when it comes to weight loss. So if calories in, calories out would have worked, my friends, it would have a long time ago, going back to the 1950s, 1960s when it first showed up. So if I'm working with a weight-challenged client, what you'll learn in our training is there can be so much at the root cause or so many contributing factors that go well beyond calories in and calories out. As an example, the person can have a hormonal issue. They can have a thyroid concern. A person who's having trouble losing weight, they have weight loss resistance. They might have undiagnosed diabetes or pre-diabetes. They can be chronically dieting and therefore underfeeding themselves such that their calorie burning metabolism adjusts downwards. You have to be able to notice that. Your weight loss client might have an imbalance in their macronutrient intake, meaning protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Sometimes you can just manipulate a person's macronutrient balance and induce weight loss in a pretty interesting way. A person might have gut dysbiosis. That will affect their weight. They could have heavy metal toxicity. They might be fast eaters. There's a lot of fast eaters out there. And thus, if you're a fast eater, you're going to have a deregulated appetite. Fast eating will lead you to eat more. It will lead you to overeat, binge eat, emotionally eat, potentially. Your weight loss client might have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or any kind of undigested, stressful life event that lives in the body, which can literally impact calorie burning. They might have emotional holding that generates a stress response, which can lead to weight gain and weight loss resistance. They might have a relationship with food where the best thing in their life is food. And so a person's turning to food and eating a lot of it because their life isn't working. And if that's the cause of their weight gain, just telling somebody, well, stop eating so much food doesn't work. You have to have the kind of life coaching skills to help them start to defocus on weight and begin to find their soul's calling, begin to find their purpose, to identify their deeper desires in the world, to identify their interests and their hobbies. The list goes on. So again, the mind-body eating coach includes the best distinctions from the other two types, the educational generalist and the clinical health and nutrition coach, while expanding to include life coaching and eating psychology. So, what's the best type for you? I think ask yourself, what concerns, what challenges, what issues do you wish to help people with? What are you attracted to? Who do you want to talk to? And what do you want to talk to them about? So you might really be interested in digestion and digestion alone. Okay, that gives you a key. Don't become an educational generalist. If you want to work with digestion and digestive issues, yeah, you might want to become a clinical nutritionist. You also might want to become a mind-body eating coach because you're going to learn distinctions both from psychology and nutrition to work with such human beings. So, educational generalist, choose that path if you want a gentle and easy introduction into the health coaching universe. You want to focus on providing information as if you're a teacher, as if you're an educator. And you are not drawn to nor wish to diagnose and treat somebody. Become a clinical health and nutrition coach if you're a more science-oriented person, you're very clinically oriented, and you have the aptitude or the desire to learn how to interpret good lab tests. You don't want to necessarily dive into a person's psychology and their life story, and you prefer to focus on working on symptoms and working on health concerns because that's what interests you and that's what intrigues you. That's what I did for probably the first 10 or 15 years of my coaching career. Become a mind-body eating coach if you want to work with the most common eating challenges that I've noticed people coming to see a health coach for. Weight, body image, overeating, binge eating, emotional eating, endless dieting, constant food worry, along with the most common health concerns that have a mind-body component. And I'm talking about concerns like digestion issues, fatigue, immune challenges, mood challenges, and more. Become a mind-body eating coach if you're intrigued by people's journey. You're intrigued by their story. You like to listen. You like to give feedback. You like to coach another person up to living their best life. You're not afraid of difficult conversations, or you're willing to learn how to be in challenging conversations with somebody. The kinds of conversations that really help a person see where they need to get back on track, help a person see what their roadblocks are, what the beliefs are that are stopping them, that are getting in their way from living the life that they want to live. Become that kind of health coach if you have an interest in nutrition and eating psychology and you're attracted to combining those. Now, I want to mention, because we're talking about nutrition, and so much of the mind-body eating coach training is about nutrition. But at the same time, I want to say here's the mistake that a lot of first-time health coaches make when people are choosing a health coach training. A lot of people think that because health coach trainings are generally focused on mostly nutrition, that the more nutrition information you have, the more nutrition knowledge that you have, and the more nutrition information you impart to your client, that's going to be the gold standard by how you measure your professional success. And what I want to tell you is nutrition is great, but nutrition information by itself doesn't always move the needle. For a lot of people, it doesn't move the needle much at all. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard in my professional practice over the years, how many times I've heard from students, from friends, family, loved ones. People will say, yeah, I know what I'm supposed to eat. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what's good for me. I know what's bad for me. I just don't do it. So if you've been trained to tell people to eat more vegetables and more fiber and more healthy this and less unhealthy that, just hurling more nutrition information at another human being doesn't necessarily take them where they want to go. So you're going to have to know how to work with another human being. And we live in interesting times, my friends, because if you wanted to, I think the average human being could go online and get the best nutrition education ever, largely for free. Yeah, you can maybe say you can have a $500 budget and you can buy 20 used books that will be unbelievable, maybe even more, and all the free resources you can get on nutrition. You could probably spend the next 10 years learning about nutrition, going into the research. And that's great, and that's fun, and it's wonderful. But as I look around, what I've noticed is so many of the clients that I see, so many of the students that come into the training, their heads are filled with nutrition information. And as you probably noticed, a lot of that nutrition information is conflicting. So there's a vast amount of books. There's a vast amount of experts out there. And the experts are very smart, and they're very well-intentioned, and they're well-meaning. And they will give you proof of why their nutritional approach works or why it's the best. And they're all kind of different, and a lot of them contradict each other. It's either intermittent fasting, or it's being a vegan, or it's being paleo. It's eating meat. It's not eating meat. It's eating raw. It's eating cooked. There's so many different paths to go down. And what happens is I find that people are suffering from what I call a high-fact diet. Too much information. And many years ago when I was a graduate student in a psychology program, I read a book called Mega Trends, and this book changed my life. And there was one thing in it that changed my life. It was literally one page. When I die and my life passes before me, I will see that one page. And essentially the one page, the book was basically predicting trends into the future, trends for the next 50 years. So this is back in the early 80s. So it's predicting a trend in health and information and in personal growth. And essentially what the page said was this, that we're living in an information society, and in times of increased amounts of information, the value of wisdom skyrockets. So in times of increased amounts of information, the value of wisdom skyrockets. And something clicked in me when I read that, because I was the kind of person that was taught to accumulate facts, and the more facts I know, the more I know, and the more I can help people. So yeah, you need the right facts, absolutely. But we need wisdom, we need insight, we need intuition. We need the kind of experience where you can talk to another human being, where you can know how to listen to them, where you can understand that every person that you work with is different. You're going to work different with a person in their 20s relative to their teens. You're going to work with a person differently if they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I'm not kidding. You're going to work with a person differently if they're a well-trained athlete versus somebody that's sitting in a desk all day. You're going to work with somebody different if they're male or female. You're going to work with somebody different if they come from a different culture or even a different religion than you. So that all requires wisdom. That requires a deeper understanding. And what I've noticed is when you mix in wisdom with the right facts, you can really help people in a very powerful way, in a very beautiful way. So to me, that's what makes Institute for the Psychology of Eating so unique. We're really both a health coach training and a life coach training sort of rolled into one. So you learn to work with people on their deeper beliefs, on habit change, on getting to the root cause of their unwanted behaviors. You're learning how to help them identify the nutritional distinctions that work best for them. What's the diet that's best for them? What happens is a lot of experts, here's what I've seen since I got into the nutrition field when I was in my teens, that somebody goes on some kind of diet, fill in the blank. It could be they went on a 30-day fast. They went on a raw food diet. They went on an all-fruit diet. They went on a macrobiotic diet. They went on the Atkins diet. They went on the high-protein diet, whatever it is. They go on a diet and they had a medical condition and they got healed. Maybe they had cancer and they healed themselves. And then they make the conclusion, go on this particular diet, heal cancer or heal my disease. Therefore, this diet will work for all people all the time. It's an interesting leap. Not necessarily, because everybody's different. What you learn in our training is that there's not one perfect way to eat. People get locked into the perfection thing. I just have to find the perfect nutritional approach. I just need to find the perfect weight loss diet, the perfect whatever. And there are probably as many perfect diets as there are people on planet Earth. Meaning, everybody has an approach for them that works best. And that's going to change anyway. You have to have the kind of wisdom as a coach to understand that humans are always changing. And I've had clients come to see me so often and they'll say, I used to be able to drink lots of milk. I used to be able to eat dairy. And all of a sudden I'm eating dairy and I get the sniffles and I get a headache and I get postnasal congestion. Yeah, sometimes people's bodies change. They become sensitive to a food all of a sudden. There's people who never had a problem eating gluten and all of a sudden they become gluten sensitive. There are people who never had a problem with binge eating and all of a sudden they're binge eating. So we need to be able to speak to a person, to listen, to understand oftentimes beneath the words what they're really saying and what they're really asking for. By the way, thanks for all the sweet comments that are showing up. Hello, Catherine from Ireland. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Suzanne, thanks for your participation as well. And Kristen, thanks for coming by. I know there's a few of you. Natasha as well. Thanks for your conference. Michaela, thank you so much. Welcome Lynn and Marty and Sam and Suze is here as well. Paula from British Columbia, Canada, thanks for coming by. And I know there's a few people from Australia here. If I didn't say hi to Sam from the UK, thank you as well for being here. So, we live in a time when it is imperative that we take our health into our own hands. Of course, you have your practitioners. Of course, you have your doctors. Of course, you have your specialists. And at the same time, we are becoming a very well-educated society, a very well-educated planet, because you and I have access to the internet. Google is one of the great words ever invented. Google has, opened up a world for so many of us. And the beauty of health coaching is that you can find your own niche. And that's what so many of our graduates do, and so many graduates from other trainings, they branch out and you combine what you've already learned. Maybe you're already a dietitian, maybe you're already a fitness instructor, maybe you're already a hypnotherapist, maybe you already work with trauma, maybe you already work with DNRS. There are so many different systems that people work with. Maybe you already work with or teach tapping, and you can combine this with everything that you learn in a health coach training, in particular with everything that you learn in our training. And I want to remind you that, yes, I want you to learn nutrition. I want you to learn the basic health distinctions, but at the same time, it's so important that you and I are learning how to help people work with what's really most powerful for them, what's most important to them. What's most important for a lot of people is that they're happy. And yeah, health is going to make us happy. But for a lot of people, it's having a healthy relationship with food that makes them happy. For a lot of people, it's having the weight that they want that's going to make them happy. For a lot of people, it's having the body that they want, that they feel that's what's going to make me happy. And if you're going to get into health coaching, to me, we need to learn how to work with that population, because it's so many of us. There's so many people who are afflicted with eating challenges. It's pretty remarkable. And nutrition is just one important piece of the puzzle, but it's not all of it. So, the coaching model at its best is seeing every client as profoundly unique. I believe it's important for you to choose a training or trainings that help you tap into each client's unique journey. I learned early on in my coaching career, I just had so much nutrition knowledge. And I started coaching when I was in my teens, believe it or not, before I even knew that I was a coach. And I was living in a college dormitory going to college, and all my friends saw me eating these strange foods. I was eating sprouts, which back in the 1970s, most people hadn't seen sprouts. They hadn't seen tofu. And I was eating just fresh fruits and fresh bread. And I was, finding, the one health food store within 30 miles of where I lived. And, kids would start coming to me, asking me questions. And I would sit down and counsel them. And I was reading just about every nutrition book that was out there, because quite frankly, back in the 1970s, you could read every nutrition book out there because there wasn't a lot, even textbooks. So what I quickly learned was, I've reached a certain point with people where educating them about nutrition only goes so far. And on average, with a client, with any kind of client, in the life cycle that you work with that client, even if they have a metabolic issue, even if they have diabetes, you're not going to spend in the life cycle of a client, if you work with them for 6 months, let's say, and you're helping them with diabetes, you're probably not going to spend more than 5 or 6 hours total talking about nutrition. There's only so much nutrition you could talk about with somebody, telling them what to eat and what not to eat and move in this direction or move in that direction. So you and I need to, part of the beauty of working with a client is getting to know them, is being on their journey with them, is watching them grow and transform, watching them have breakthroughs. And in order to be with a client in a longer term relationship, you have to have the skills, not just of a classic health coach, but of a classic life coach, to know how to be with your client as their life unfolds and be with their eating challenges, their health challenges. Because eating challenges and health challenges aren't just about food and nutrition and metabolism. The reality is all the different dimensions of our life can impact our metabolism and can impact our relationship with food. What am I talking about when I'm talking about all the different dimensions of life? I'm talking about work. I'm talking about finances, career. I'm talking about, our significant relationships, our intimate relationships, our relationships with parents, with friends, with children, our sexuality, our spirituality, our family of origin. All these domains of life can powerfully impact a person's health, can powerfully impact whether I'm emotionally eating or not. If somebody's emotionally eating, if somebody's overeating, if somebody's binge eating, there's always a good reason for it. If somebody says to you, I know what to do, I know what I'm supposed to eat, I just can't do it, then they're right. And there's actually reasons why we have our unwanted behaviors. There's brilliant reasons rooted in biology, rooted in psychology, rooted in both, as to why we do the behaviors that we say we don't want to do. So I love working in that. Personally, I love working in that way. I like working with people in a way that I get to know them, where it's personal, where it's fascinating, and where I get to learn about a person's journey, and where I get to be their coach, their mentor, their guide, because I've had the kind of training and I've developed the kind of knowledge where I can serve another human being. So that's what's great about being a coach. That's what's great about being a practitioner. That's what's great about, the Mind Body Eating Coach certification training. That's what I'm most proud of. After you complete our 8-month online training, you have the tools, you have the nuances, the specifics, the techniques, the listening distinctions. You understand the various realms of a person's life and how to work with them. Francis says, I wish I could conquer stress eating or worry eating. A lot of people want to conquer stress eating. Here's what I'm going to say. Notice the language that we use sometimes. I want to conquer my stress. Really what we want to do is, or conquer my stress eating. If I'm trying to conquer something, chances are I'm trying to beat it with a stick. I'm trying to overpower it. And the way we transform is our eating challenges is not by overpowering them. You don't transform your binge eating or your overeating, your emotional eating, your stress eating, your worry eating by, I can do this. I just need more willpower. I need to learn how to stop. Part of it, when you learn how to be a mind, body, eating coach, you're going to learn how to listen to a person and determine, okay, what is stressing them out? Because actually stress eating has a brilliant reason. It de-stresses us. The act of eating puts the body into a physiologic relaxation response, parasympathetic dominance. You and I could be the most stressed out people in the universe and sit us down, let us emotionally eat or binge eat on something that we like, and eat the pasta, eat the cake, eat the ice cream. And literally what's happening is the pleasure chemistry release and the act of eating food, both of those literally relax the body. So all I'm saying is the first step to overcoming stress eating or worry eating is to embrace it and see the brilliant reason why we're doing it. We're doing it because we're using it to regulate our emotions. I can't deal with certain emotions. A lot of us can't deal with stress. I can't deal with stress a lot of times, so I try to do something. What do? I'll go out in nature. I'll jump in the shower. I'll take a cold bath. I will turn on music. I will talk to a good friend. I'll talk to somebody who can help coach me along. I'll do my breathing exercises. I'll lie down and stretch. So it's helping a client see, okay, you have a brilliant reason for stress or worry eating or emotional eating. Let's see if we can work on those areas of life that are causing you those stresses. Maybe we could do something there. And maybe we can find other tools and techniques in addition to food that help de-stress you, that help regulate your emotions. So much more we could say about that. I wish I could just coach you all in this conversation right now so you can see how this works. But for now, I'm going to say I think we've covered some important concepts about health coaching today. In tomorrow's live event, I'm going to be talking about the missing ingredients in health coaching, eating psychology, and mind-body nutrition. By the way, all of our live events start at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. So for tomorrow's conversation, the missing ingredients in health coaching, eating psychology, and mind-body nutrition, these are the two key fields we teach at the Institute. I originated these decades ago after seeing that all my well-meaning nutrition advice wasn't moving the needle for my clients. I discovered that being a successful coach really hinges on combining these two fields. To me, this is a fascinating conversation. I can't get enough of it. I think you're going to enjoy tomorrow's conversation because I'm going to dive into some key highlights from those two fields. I hope you join me. I am really appreciative, really grateful for your time and your energy. I know your time is valuable. I know we're all busy. And if you're thinking of becoming a health coach, or if you're already a practitioner and you're thinking of jumping into our training, I really hope that you stay with us this week, that you learn more, and hope to see you again, my friends. Have a great rest of your day. You take care.